Hi, Dave here, and this is episode 27 of the art review series. And today we're going to take a look at the work of Darek Zabrocki. Now, Darek Zabrocki is a Polish concept artist, and I believe he has a concept art school, Focal Point School. I think you can take his classes online, but I believe the actual school is stationed in Poland. I'm not sure, but I think he runs the school along with Michael Kus, Kus, and I will also be reviewing Michael Kus's work on this series, the art review series. So Darek Zabrocki is a guy that's actually very interesting, because I think he's the only one of his kind in terms of his style. He's kind of very unique. You can tell by the way he paints. It's very kind of let's start and take a look at his work. So we'll start from we'll check out his ArtStation portfolio. He actually does have a website for his kind of works and shit, but we'll be exploring more of his ArtStation stuff because it's easier to kind of take a look at. So we'll start from his very early works and then work our way forwards. I'm not sure if he does orient or organize his pieces in terms of a timeline, but yeah, whatever. So this is his one of his paintings, and you can tell he's more of an opaque painter. He doesn't use a lot of the round brushes and similar brushes of that sort where you can see a lot of opacity, because there is that appeal. For example, if you check out John Wallen's work or Craig Mullins, they'll often show off the opacity of the brush, and you can kind of build up paint that way. However, Darek is more of a opaque, I would call it an opaque kind of painting, where it's kind of very similar to gouache or oil painting, where it's very kind of brushy, very just opaque. You can't really see the strokes behind it, and you can actually fill in a lot of the major shapes this way, or major silhouettes. And to me, it's more efficient, I guess. And I've seen the work of, say, Jumabayev, something, and he does have a few pieces where he uses an opaque kind of brush, and his work does look kind of oil painting-ish in some of his works, and it just feels more efficient because you're kind of painting. You're not really building up paint, I would say, because you're kind of I don't feel like I'm explaining this well enough, but I think we should just take a look at his work and see how it actually works. So here, I think he did use some photos for the mountains and shit. I would recommend you check out Darek's YouTube channel, because he does have a few videos of his speed paintings, I think. And it's very interesting to see the way he paints. Very, again, efficient, not just in terms of his brushwork, because he does use the lasso tool and stuff like that, but he's more focused on the big shapes. And whenever he does his silhouettes or his big shapes in the very beginning, he immediately goes into the atmosphere, like setting the mood. And that's another thing in his work. His work is very moody. He does play a lot with the atmosphere, and even if his painting is very kind of almost sketchy, very kind of bold, impressionistic, very simplified sometimes, because of the way he paints the atmosphere, it looks very complete. And I think if you can make the person or the audience or the viewer of the image or your painting feel something immediately, I think you've done a good job. And it's actually kind of very enticing to I think that can overpower painting techniques, I think, in some way, because if you can bring out that emotion that comes with, say, or that's evoked by the lighting and the atmosphere, I think you're doing a good job of it. And you can see in a lot of his work, he loves to play with the sky and he does love adding the kind of these kinds of light sources. And his work does tend to look kind of epic in a way, and he can do characters and shit, but I think he shines best in his environments and keyframes. And whenever he ties everything together, it just looks very cool, especially with his techniques, with the way he handles atmosphere, and with the way he paints. It just looks very well done to me. And you can see here, these are some of his cityscape sketches, I believe. You can tell he just used one of his opaque brushes. Here, maybe some lasso tool work, and maybe he does use an erase tool with a similar opaque brush to kind of clean up the edges. Here you can see a circle brush, and then he does add a photo texture to add in the lights, and it's a very efficient way of approaching image making. And in the sky, I think he did use a photo, but I love the way he did. I think this is some kind of blending mode effect where the light of the background is actually affecting also the silhouette of the building. Although I'm not sure if this would be totally accurate, where it would totally shine. Maybe in the edges there would be a soft light, but the moment you get to the center, it gets darker, I think. Still looks pretty cool. Even the way he paints the ships, very few brush strokes. Here are more cityscapes of his, or cityscape sketches. This could be some kind of custom shape, perhaps. This is the it's the Star Wars kind of ship. I can't remember the actual name. And again, he does have a nice and this is another thing in his work. He's pretty good with photo bashing, and he blends it pretty well with the way he paints. Because you'll often kind of see how because for me, I don't think it's a good, or it doesn't, at least in the beginning or before I got into like this whole art thing. And whenever I would see artwork where they would try to blend the kind of oil painting, natural kind of style with some modern techniques like photo bashing, it doesn't always look good. But for Darek Zabrocki, or at least I did not think it would work, but for Darek Zabrocki, he does a pretty good job of blending the two, where he paints some stuff and where he photo bashes some stuff, and it looks very. For example, in this piece, you can tell he used the lasso tool for this one in some of the buildings to kind of handle the silhouette, and then he added some photo textures. Now that's kind of typical in digital kind of artwork or art pieces, but in the foreground, or even in this character, he does use his painting natural kind of painting techniques, very kind of opaque style. He'll start with a silhouette. As you can see, it's just dark, and then he'll add like light sources defining we're adding more values to make it more of a form instead of just a silhouette. And you can see he does maybe use some mixer brushes, perhaps. Not sure, but you can see a lot of the kind of painting strokes and the kind of edges of the brush, where you can see the kind of strands of the brush. And there's this nice blend of the kind of a modern kind of approach and the kind of naturalistic look, right? And I think that's where he really shines, or that's his most significant, not significant, but his most notable kind of style, where he blends the two. This is more of a sketch, and you can see he's more of a painter here. And no photos, just a pure sketch. And I love the way he added this kind of orange feel, reddish orange, brownish feel, because he's obviously showing off the skin or the flesh that's typical of, let's say, a wing of a bat, right? And I think it does make it a little more natural to me. Even though this is very kind of sketchy, you can tell he's more of a painter, I think. And even again, that's a photo bash thing right here. Maybe some photo textures to help fill in the background a bit, but most of it, or he does a good job of painting on top of it. Or sometimes he paints the silhouettes first, or the main kind of forms, and then he'll add the photo bash, and then he'll paint over it again. And I love the way he simplifies the figures. He's kind of focusing more on the big picture stuff, which I think I should be able to do more of and get good at, because sometimes I think we can have or we can develop this bad habit of focusing too much on one area, and then we're kind of neglecting and even forgetting kind of the main idea or the main purpose of the entire kind of image. And yeah. Ooh. And again, look at the way he paints this nice thing in the bottom, kind of castle thing. Some photo texture obviously, but he does a good job of painting. And again, the way he uses the colors, he does use, again, photo references pretty well. And he does apply the lighting of the sky in the background onto the structure, and it does look like a well put piece. Even though it's not totally complete in terms of painting, I can feel the mood of this thing, and to me that's a good kind of thing, right? And again, with these three other pieces, you can tell very painterly, very simplified. I think he did develop this even more. He does have a video of this guy, I believe, on his YouTube channel, where he brought this sketch to a more complete painting. Yes. Yeah. Oh, you can see in the background, that's a photo texture right there. So yeah. So he's also pretty good at kind of delegating, or not delegating, but on choosing which areas to photo bash and which to just paint. For example, these people right here, it would be more efficient to just kind of photo bash them in instead of just I think this is some kind of photo bash thing or photo texture. It just helps to simplify or to save time, so you can focus more on the big picture, the atmosphere, the mood, right? The big shapes, the silhouettes. Even here, you can see in a lot of, say, watercolor artists, the way they paint people, they usually just simplify or leave it to a silhouette form. And I think he is influenced a bit with or by traditional types of paintings. He even has one piece here that's kind of very similar to a watercolor painting. In terms of the way it looks, although it's done digitally, it is very kind of watercolor-esque in my opinion. So he also does a few mechs, and even his mechs does have its own style, and you can see he does use very similar forms. I think I mentioned, or I showed one of his mechs in a previous art doodle episode. Not sure. I think so. Yeah. And again, he loves to make it moody. I think he starts off with the sky or with a kind of wash of the atmosphere, maybe with a photo texture, and then he'll start building the paint on top. And here you can see a good example of the way he blends his painterly style. You can see some of his strokes here, very big strokes. Even with the people he does, you can see his painterly strokes, very opaque kind of painting. Plus the photo bashing. And you can tell with the atmosphere, the way he handles the lighting in this area and adding those streaks and rays of light. Looks very, very cool, and it looks well done. Even though it's not fully complete, to me this is good enough to kind of show your concept and stuff like that. And he does often use, I think this is some kind of motion blur, I can't tell, but sometimes in some of his pieces it looks kind of alive. I'm not sure if it's using a motion blur kind of effect on some areas, or maybe he's just using more painterly kind of swift strokes to kind of make that thing or a thing look like it's moving or something. But I think this is a good example of the way he blends his, even here you can see his painting strokes, of the way he blends his photo bashing with his painting, natural kind of painting style. Very cool stuff. Same thing. Very nice way of blending. He does use the marquee tool, I think. Even here, he makes a simple kind of shape, and then he'll use some soft brushes to add the nice gradation of lighting in this kind of pipe thing. And then on top of that, he'll do his natural painting style, kind of adding these support systems. And he doesn't have to use photo textures for all of the lights. As you can see, he'll just dab in some paint. And that's enough to kind of, Even in this part right here, that's a photo texture. Obviously, he transformed it to kind of fit the perspective. And again, it looks well done. The whole thing kind of makes sense. I can kind of feel the environment. It's some kind of construction site. Kind of early in the morning perhaps, or midday, very cloudy day. Again, very awesome atmosphere. And yeah, this could be some kind of custom shape perhaps, or maybe a brush and that he kind of just on its own layer that he kind of pulled and stuff like that. And he used this part right here in this area as well. And you can see a lot of artists kind of reuse the same things. And to me, this is kind of very that's very resourceful, and you're actually saving time. You don't actually have to have a different kind of photo for everything. You can just use similar photos and just change them along the way. And I think a big part of creating images that are pretty compelling in the concept art world is you need to be able to be resourceful, or learn how to be resourceful and find ways of reusing the same things and changing them in different ways to fit different purposes, right? This one is an Assassin's Creed kind of piece, and again, the way he paints, very bold. This one's more sketchy, and you can see in the background very he did use a photo texture, or he did some photo bashing, excuse me. But in terms of the lighting, look at the way he added this dash of light in the bottom, this awesome shadow of this person right here working. And you can see from the length of the shadow, the sun is pretty low, I would say. So it's kind of a sunset. If not sunset, a sunrise. To me, this feels more like a sunset to me. Or maybe a sunrise because it's too yellow. If it's kind of orangey, I think I would consider that a sunset. So okay, this is more oil painting, or very opaque kind of painting. Maybe some texture in the background, but again, without even having to use too much texture, I think he was able to communicate the mood of this thing. He did add very simple kind of squiggly line to indicate this guy in kind of shooting something. You know, this is some kind of war scene, obviously. And there's some smoke. And oh yeah, I don't think he used a motion blur for this one. I think he just used a very kind of dashy kind of paint stroke, and using the pen pressure of the pen to make it lighter in the edges and stuff like that, to kind of signify that the smoke is kind of moving. And this thing actually feels very alive to me. Even though it's very kind of quick, it feels like there's actually something happening, which is I think is very good with the whole keyframe kind of concepts where something is happening. I think that's where he definitely fits the most, or at least that's what his work, or at least that's what I see in his portfolio. Here he definitely did use more painterly strokes for this guy, but for this part right here, very simple brushes, lots of lasso tool work, and some soft brushes. And I love the way he added this nice dash of light, and this does create some kind of mood. Even though it's super simple, there is some kind of atmosphere going on right now, and I think again he's pretty good at that kind of thing. This could be some kind of study or something. Now this is definitely a good example of his painting skills. Very efficient brush strokes, and I think that's one of the most common things that people point out in his work. Very efficient kind of painting. He doesn't waste a lot of time, I think, in these paintings. And in one of his ArtStation posts, he did mention how he approached, or he got to this level of painting when he does, or back in the day, he did a lot of 30-minute paintings and stuff like that. I think they're called spit paints, I think, because he was mentioning a Facebook group where someone would post a kind of a theme, and then people would post their 30-minute paintings. I think that is what he's referring to, doing kind of 30-minute spit paints or speed paintings. And I think that, according to him, that definitely helped him to improve his skills in painting, be more efficient with the way he uses his opaque brush, and also it improved the way he saw things. I think that's what he said according to the post. Just being able to kind of develop this intuition for atmosphere, I think, and you can tell in his work he's not very held back. He's very bold with the strokes. To me at least, very powerful, very confident. Fuck. Another kind of oil painting, opaque kind of painting. Very cool kind of atmosphere, very strong shadow right here, and then he made this part a little more saturated. Cool stuff. And I love the way he simplified the sky, and he did add this nice kind of a shade right here, not shade, but to kind of signify the sunset. It feels like a sunset to me. Oh, this one is more another kind of speed painting, perhaps. Very oil or opaque kind of painting. Not a lot of no photo bashing at all. This could be some kind of study of his, and you can see his very brush-like strokes. Some texture brushes, kind of the branchy kind of texture, but most of it is just very bold, very efficient. I think this is one of his other studies, and I love the way he painted the characters, especially the way he painted this jacket. Very simple, but he was able to indicate the folds. He didn't have to actually do this, but I guess he just wanted to include some folks on this image. This is obviously pretty cool, and look at the way he added this nice detail with just one stroke, just like that. Very efficient way of painting. And again, very opaque kind of painting, not a lot of see-through or opacity in his work. Very kind of full, right? Almost like an oil painting again, or a gouache piece. This one does have, I'm not sure how many brushes he uses for this painting. He does have a few, I guess, that he keeps going back to. This could be some kind of texture brush right here. Some spacing in his brushes, very cool effect. Very kind of this one actually looks like an oil painting to me. Again, he doesn't put in too much detail, but he kind of paints enough to show that it's a snow environment, a snowy, cold environment. He indicated some of the folds, or suggested some folds in just the right places, just enough to kind of make this guy look like an actual guy or soldier that's obviously aiming at something, right? Very efficient way of painting. I'm not sure how long this actual painting took. Maybe 30 minutes to an hour, probably. He does use a photo texture in this corner, but most of it is painted. Maybe in the background you can see some photo, and again here with the kind of sparkly effects. I think he does have a few versions of this. Maybe these are kind of oh, he does use a some of his brushes here are actually kind of photoshoppy, you know, with the very opacity type of brushes. But here you can see very brush-like in a way. So these are some of his proposals, perhaps. Kind of different versions. Maybe he's doing some kind of piece, a cover piece for something. And maybe, you know, these are some of his kind of versions in between, like the feedback phase where you kind of keep going back and forth, right? And then this is probably the set kind of, or the chosen, developed piece. Okay. Oh, this is another good example of the way he blends his painting skills plus his photo bashy kind of skills. The atmosphere, first of all, perfect, right? Sunset, very cool. I'm not sure how he did this. Maybe some kind of custom shape. You can tell some photo bash texture right here. I'm not sure how he did this though. Maybe some blending modes. Maybe this is from an actual photo, and then he used some kind of blending mode to kind of make the sky disappear, so it can implant itself on the this specific sky. And you can see with the way he paints the people here, very simplified, almost like an actual traditional painter, kind of like a watercolor artist or something, or an oil painter. Some drones, nice touch. And again, you can see this is some kind of simple shape, and then he paints within that, probably with a clipping mask or something. And he does add the light on specific areas, so it does have a nice kind of effect going on. Okay, very good example. And again, the leveling of this, it's darker in the foreground, and then as you go farther and farther away, it gets kind of slightly lighter, where it's not completely or not very close to black, because in these parts right here, it's kind of closer to the black value, right? And then as you go further away, it gets slightly grayer. The same goes for this guy. And I love that bit of atmosphere right here. It helps to push this thing in the back further back, right? Cool stuff. Very nice. So this one is actually more of a character kind of concept. And he does use some of his brushy, well, not a lot of his brushy, kind of opaque kind of brushes. But he does use a mix of photo bashing plus his painting techniques. Oh, you can't zoom in as much. So he does more photo bashing here. Maybe some cloud brushes perhaps or something. But very well blended, very well done. Oh, so I guess he's kind of exploring different types of atmosphere in terms of time. Yeah, or yeah. Okay, so this could be, I'm not sure what kind of project or what these images are for, but I love this dash of light. He does a lot of these dashes of light. Again, very moody kind of artist, at least in terms of the painting. Very kind of smoky, lots of fog, very atmospheric. Photo texture, obviously. It's kind of the same image used again and again, but he's kind of exploring different kinds of, again, atmospheres. And look at the way he simplified that mountain. It's really just one silhouette, and then he added a few paint strokes to kind of signify the sides that are in light, right? And even the way he painted this cloud, very brushy. You can even see some of the strokes in this one. Very well painted, very well done. Cool stuff. Oh, some mushrooms. Same kind of idea, but maybe from a different view. Okay, another character mech concept. Yeah, so he does use some photo bashing, photo textures, and some of his painterly brushes at the same time. Right. Oof, this one is pretty cool. Not a lot of photo textures, very ballsy kind of painting, very confident strokes. And again, look at the way he handled the lighting, kind of going halfway between this figure and then hitting the back part of this horse. And then because of this horse, it does cast a shadow in this other horse, but this other horse is actually hit by the light, right? Very nice way of kind of putting the light sources in different areas. It looks very kind of interesting that way. And again, this nice dash of light in the mid ground or mid area, kind of behind this carriage, right? Some texture brushes, the kind of branchy type. Very big brush stroke in the back to kind of simplify the background. Some of its brushes do have texture within them, not exactly this kind of brush, but even this part, it does have like a few holes in them. Very cool effect to kind of help diversify your brush strokes or your brush variety, right? Or to add brush variety, I mean. So this is a Need for Speed concept. This one is more photo bashy, but I love the way his work does show off a bit of his specialness, and his specialness I think is his kind of painting way of painting. The kind of a brushy, opaque kind of a painting style. Not a lot of it again. This is more of a photobashed piece. The atmosphere is pretty. I'm not sure if he used 3D for the background. Maybe it's photobashed, I think. But yeah. Oof, this is actually one of my favorite pieces of his because it's a keyframe in essence. Very simplified background. Maybe some photo bashing in some areas. He did use a few clouds probably or smoke for the this part right here. Some of the brusheries and foliage. This is obviously kind of motion blurred. This chick is probably looks like a girl. Probably it's in its own layer, and then he added some motion blur just a bit to kind of signify movement. And again, this is more of a keyframe. Even these kinds of things, these could be some kind of insect or some kind of debris flying, perhaps. Or maybe it's an insect. This is actually some kind of locust, right? Oh yeah, this could be like an insect swarm. That's kind of part of this monster thing. Excuse me. I love the rainbow effects going on right here. And again, he did add the kind of orange effect because this part is obviously hitting the sun. So it's going to be a little more brighter, I guess, or show more a bit of the interior flesh, stuff like that. Very interesting design, and I'm actually kind of excited to work on my creature stuff because he's actually doing some creature design as well in this piece. I'm not sure if he just made this kind of everything on the fly or he actually spent time creating this creature and then implanting it on the thing, or maybe, I don't know. But it's very cool. It's a very cool image, very painterly as well. Even the way he handled the highlights, the white stuff, the close to white strokes here, very painterly, very bold. He does define the face a bit more. This could be photobashed from a locust, maybe. Or this could just be painted because he can paint pretty well. Okay, let's move on. This is more of a vehicle design piece. And again, he can do more specific kinds of pieces. Not exactly environments, but more focused on, say, the character or the vehicle. And again, very brushy kind of strokes, very bold. I wouldn't call him a fine illustrator where he goes in and define every single detail. He's very kind of big picture kind of guy. And if he wants to, he'll kind of go in deeper and define certain areas more. Here you can even see his brushy strokes. Yeah. Look at this piece. I think this could be some kind of game, maybe. Very simple brushes, very big strokes, right? You can see a lot of his brush strokes in this piece. Some photo texture in the background, perhaps to set the atmosphere. But even the clouds in the clouds that are closer, very kind of painterly, very bold, very big kind of strokes. But it does, because of the atmosphere, the mood that it gives out, it's kind of enough to get the concept, to get the feel, right? If ever he wants to develop this even more, he can just add some photo textures, right, to kind of fill out this thing, and then he can start painting over that. But being able to do this in the beginning, I think, is very important. Setting the main silhouette, setting the mood, the atmosphere, the lighting in the very beginning, kind of helps you to it solves the biggest problems of the piece, and you can kind of work on the details later. Even this piece right here, very kind of bold, right? Later on, he could just add some photo bashing, or he could do some photo bashing, add some photo textures, and then paint over them. Yep, he did use some photo textures here for the fire and some. Now this guy is actually pretty chill. This is some kind of war scene, but this guy is moving pretty chill. So more of a keyframe thing. Very kind of action-packed. Lots of explosions. Another example of the way he does very quick paintings in the beginning, but it already has some kind of mood, and it does handle most of the big or general silhouettes of the piece, right? Even the character is super simple, but from afar you can already kind of feel the image. Same thing for this one. He did use the photo texture for the sky, and then from there he just paints on top of it, I guess. And he does set the mood in the very beginning. Now this one is more detailed slightly. More photo bashing. Lots of smokes. Very action-packed. Explosions. Michael Bay-esque. Very nice effect. This one, some photo texture, but he does paint over it. And he does a good job of suggesting some kind of city, right? Kind of an enclosed city. And some nice planes in the background. Very nice kind of atmosphere again. This kind of opening in the sky. And then the sun. Oh, wow. Wow. And the kind of sunset in the very edge of that big cloud. And that nice kind of a flare or lens flare effect. Nice. Very cool kind of sphere. I'm not sure what. I think this is some kind of game. Fuck. Anyway. Lots of photo bashing, obviously. The characters, painted, photo bash. Oh. You know, I actually remember him painting this. I think he was talking over. Like this thing was being painted in the background, and I think he was in some kind of interview. I can't recall, but I remember seeing a video of this. I still can't find the video, but I remember seeing it in the past, where he starts out again with the kind of big brush strokes, and then he'll add some photo textures and define everything kind of within that silhouette, right? Yeah. Ow! Look at the way he handled the clouds. Very interesting. I love the kind of variety of light kind of openings. Makes it very kind of epic and atmospheric. And he does a good job of making this entire scene look very big and very epic, right? The color scheme of this character actually looks very kind of God of War-esque because of the reds and the whites, or the light grays. Very kind of very intense clouds here. Lots of lightning. Futuristic kind of city. You can see from the tallest buildings. Very nice. Again, example of photo bashing plus the painting style. Even the people are kind of left in their silhouette kind of forms almost. But the atmosphere, cool. Again, atmosphere pretty cool. Great combination of the photo bashing plus the painterly stuff. You can even see his very confident strokes. And in the background, it gets very foggy. Very cool atmosphere. This could be some kind of slum area. Oh, it's the Death Cure Maze Runner series film. Okay, you can see more of his brushstrokes here in the wall and in some of the buildings, and obviously some photo bashing for to kind of fill out this city area, right? Yep, maybe some photo texture to kind of help with the lights to suggest some kind of city, but almost everything is just painted in his kind of opaque style. Focuses in more on the character, and then defines it even. Oh shit! Sorry about that. And then defines it even more, right? Yeah. Okay, very awesome. He defined this thing even more. Okay. Ooh, wonderful quick sketch painting. You can tell by the way he paints, very confident, and he was able to set the mood again. Look at that. Very bold. Same thing for this one. Lots of castles. Yep, very nice. Oh, he does use some simpler brushes in some areas, and he kind of mixes that with his texture brushes plus his more opaque kind of brushes. No photos, I think. Great example of this could be some kind of study, perhaps. These ones do have some texture, especially with the walls and roofing. But he obviously started with some kind of painting, and then he added the textures after. I believe this is some kind of Sid Mead study, kind of a class demo in his focal point school, perhaps. Again, you can tell very bold strokes, very big shapes. And I love when artists kind of show off their, like these parts right here, where you can see the spacing of their brushes. It does have a texture of its own if you do that kind of thing. And that's something you really only get with the digital kind of painting, which is really cool. Okay, the silhouettes or the people are kind of painted very simply. Or simple. Nice. More class demos, I believe. Oh, Focal Point Art School. And I love the kind of name of the art school, Focal Point. I mean, very catchy, and kind of it fits the idea of the school being a concept art school and stuff like that. And I do like the way he paints the wings, very kind of orange, very lifelike. Oh shit! Look at the bottom of this dragon. Lots of hue variety, right? It's not just one kind of silhouette. Lots of yellows and blues and browns. The darkest values are in the kind of armpit, right? Wow. Did not see that coming. The sky is very simple, very big, right? Look at that. Now this one is a very simple painting. Analogous, is that the word? Oh, analogous? No, that's it. They're under kind of a warm gray kind of mood. No colors. Nice kind of pose. It's kind of a dog lizard thing. Interesting. So I believe these are more class demos. I'm not sure how long this would take. Maybe an hour for him or less, given his experience and skills. Ooh, more class demos, I believe. I'm actually doing these more, or at least I started doing them in my portfolio on ArtStation, figuring out the kind of thumbnails and focusing more on the kind of major design forms, and then eventually, hopefully, developing them more in the colored form and not in a kind of flat kind of view, in a kind of keyframe perhaps. I believe more demos for the concept art school Focal Point. Very efficient way of approaching environments, and I think this is very common in the concept art world, where they would separate the foreground, the midground, and the background in different layers, right? And then paint within them. Very interesting approach. You know, these environments actually feel very Avatar-like, right? If you've seen the film Avatar, it's almost as if this is from its world. Very cool stuff. Interesting. More silhouettes. But this time for trees and shit. I think this is part of the the class demo. Fuck. Very cool atmosphere. Some photo textures perhaps. I love the way he simplifies the background. And he did add a bit of a motion blur on this helicopter right here. I love the kind of smoke thing. Oh yeah, this is the one that actually looks like a watercolor painting. Even the scene that he chose to paint here is something a watercolor artist would paint, because the watercolor artists do love their water and stuff, the kind of Venice type of environments with the boats and shit. Oh, some color dynamics turned on in this area in Photoshop. Even though he does use very opaque brushes, it looks very kind of watercolor-esque. Oh, I did buy this. He does have a tutorial of this thing in his Gumroad. I did buy this. It's like $15 when I bought it. I haven't actually watched the entire thing again. Such a... But I have seen his kind of approach. He does a lot of photo bashing, but he was able to set the mood eventually. And he does a good job of painting over the photos. To make it seem like it's from this, to make it more kind of consistent with each other, right? And again, the way he paints the folks right here, very simple, especially in the background. Maybe he does, I think he did use a photo and then he painted over it for this guy and this chick, maybe. I can't recall. I love the way he showed the kind of water flowing off of this kind of fountain. This is some kind of photo, and then he painted over it to kind of make it fit the whole scene. And I think this is a good example of the mixture between photo bashing and painting. Because if you just photo bash, it's kind of hard to blend things together. There are artists that can blend things pretty well with just photo bashing without having to paint really anything. Maybe with just the soft brush or something, but this is a good example of using the opaque kind of brush. As you can see, looks very kind of consistent, well done. And again, the nice dashes or rays of light. Oh, I think I showed this in the previous piece. Same. Oh, this is the developed version of the previous kind of sketch. He does have a YouTube video of this, so I will be linking his channel and all his other links in the description below, so be sure to check his work out and follow him wherever you can if you do like his work. Oof. So he did have a few photos here, but I love the way he played with the background. And shit, I forgot what these are called. In Gothic architecture, the kind of support systems. Fuck. Oof, some photo textures in the background and with the windows and the lights. Most of the characters are just painted. Wonderful atmosphere, by the way. Some photo textures. Again, very nice blending. Very bold, very opaque. Oh, I think he was showing off some of his old speed paintings back then. And again, I think this is where he kind of wanted to show people that to get to where he is right now, his more efficient kind of painting, all you really have to do is do a lot of speed paintings, and you'll eventually develop the brush efficiency, plus the kind of intuition for the atmosphere, which is very apparent in his work. So these are some of his speed paintings, I guess. And look at the way he added this kind of nice lighting. Maybe he did this after with the kind of soft brush and then painted over it with some more opaque brushes, perhaps. And look at the way he was able to create the feel of a city, right? And he does recommend not using too much of the photo bashing, because you can always add that later on. You want to develop your painting skills, the brush efficiency. Shit. Ah, fuck. Let me just have some coffee. Okay. Wonderful kind of atmosphere, sunset. Wow. He loves his horses, by the way. And very into the whole gothic kind of architecture, I would say. He did add some motion blur for the birds. Very painterly kind of statues on top. I think everything here is kind of painted. Very moody again. I think I'm not sure if he has a YouTube video of this guy, but again, very efficient. One of his speed paintings. Same here. Look at the way he simplified the roofing. And then I think he did the roofing in one layer and then added some kind of clipping mask to add some textures and paint within that kind of roofing silhouette or silhouettes. Right. And look at the way he painted the lights. Painted, not a lot of no photos. So if you're good with this, I think you can set the entire, you can solve most of your problems in the very beginning, and then if you want or if you have to, you can add the photos, the photo bashing, the textures, the more detailed kind of painting later on, right? Very cool. Look at the way he simplified the folks. Plop, very silhouette-y. Beautiful train. Choo choo, motherfucker. Nice guy. Awesome. Look at the way he painted the mountain in the background. Very bluish. So there are some kind of figures in the sky. Very interesting. Very interesting. Oof, more speed paintings. Look at the way, again, he simplified the boat. Very brush-like strokes. Very bold. Very confident. Very just in your face kind of painting. Same thing goes for this guy. I love the mood. Maybe some gradient maps, not sure. And I think even for the water, he just used some kind of lasso tool thing, perhaps. Very oh, this reminds me of Pearl Harbor. Like a scene in Pearl Harbor, perhaps. Not sure. Look at the way he did this windmill. Very sketchy, very loose. But the atmosphere, done in the very beginning. Oh, nice monster. This could be some kind of keyframe. He spent a little more time. It's still sketchy, but he spent a little more time on this figure compared to this guy, because this guy is just simplified. But obviously, the main kind of thing here would obviously be the monster. And look at the varying light sources. Lights, kind of the light shining on the bottom. The light coming from the sky. Right? Oh, another kind of scuba diver here. And a very kind of interesting piece. Even this one is kind of moody. Very dark. Oof. Yeah, very cool stuff. Very foggy in the bottom. Wow, very scary. This actually reminds me of Wallop's work, WLOP. Maybe you've heard of this guy. Another kind of Chinese, I think, Taiwanese artist. When he does paint his environments as well, very kind of in this manner, very loose but bold, very confident. Very interesting, very simplified, but again, the mood is there, the idea is there. If ever, he can always develop it even more as he goes along. But he pretty much was able to communicate the concept in the very beginning in less time, maybe in like 30 minutes or something. Oof, another could this be The Witcher? Toss a coin to your Witcher. Maybe because of the white hair. The horse is essentially a silhouette. Maybe this is photo bashed. Yeah, and then he darkened up the horse and then painted on top of it, maybe with a clipping mask or something. Right? Oh, some photos for some texture to add some texture for the trees and shit, and some custom shapes perhaps for the mountains. Right. And this is his last piece that we're going to show off today. Very awesome. I've shown this before in one of my art doodles, showing off his work a bit. Look at this thing, Jesus Christ! The sky is super simple, but the atmosphere is there. Very Desert Storm-esque kind of mood. This could be based on the Abrams tank, I believe. The common tank of the US kind of military, right? It does have a desert kind of look to it. Fuck my life. I think he did use some photos for some of these folks, and then he painted, or he put them on its own layer and then added a clipping mask to kind of add some texture and kind of paint over them. Holy fuck. Even the ground, you can see a lot of his brush strokes and some of his texture brushes. Very efficient kind of way of painting. He didn't even show the kind of ends or the feet of these mechs. But yeah, they're very kind of massive, I guess. Wow. These helicopters are photo bashed in. Oh, a nice kind of lens flare. He probably added this after he painted the entire thing. Some branchy kind of texture. Oh, excuse me, brushwork. And look at the way he added the details in this tank. Very oil painterly, gouache-like, opaque kind of painting style. You can see some lasso tool work. Maybe as he started this or determining the silhouette of this tank. Wonderful. So I do recommend you check out his art station. Follow him there. Check out Focal Point School if you want to learn more about his or concept art, I guess, because he's kind of a well-rounded artist. He does handle the school with Michael Michalkus. And he does have a YouTube channel, so if you want to see his kind of YouTube or his video process, right? Check it out there. If you want to check out his tutorials, you can check out his Gumroad, right? So I think we'll end the video there. Keep painting and stay free.